Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Trigger Warning Airsoft Mods with Relic. Today we're going to work on this VSR-10, this Tokyo Marui. If you'd like to look at it, here we are. There's the long ass suppressor on it. Big scope. This is the Wolverine Wraith. So it's CO2 stock, so we just have it inside of a tourniquet pouch mounted right here. I'll put some still pictures up.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Your CO2 goes in here. Quick change. It's a pretty nice paint job, isn't it? I thought so. And this thing is super quiet. Right now I'm pumping out about 120 pounds per square inch on the regulator, and that gets me 320 foot per second with a 0.4 gram BB. So that's pretty damn good. The range really isn't the best. It's getting 200 foot, 220 foot easy, but you know, with dropping this expensive system in here, I was really hoping to get 300 foot out of it reliably. As I'm coming to find out, as I've been working more and more on these guns, and especially on snipers, FPS doesn't always equate to range. The higher the FPS, sure, the more the BB is going to hurt when it hits you. That's higher joules. I mean, it goes without saying. Your assholes on the field are going to try to run 500 FPS because that BB is going to sting like a motherfucker. But I'm learning with this that I can run lower FPS and still get the range. I think my issue with this rifle in particular is the fact that it's the G-spec, and while it seems like a normal length with the silencer on it, what you have to realize, if you've never seen one of these in person, there's about 150 threads. You have to realize the silencer is this long. That's, I mean, come on. That's that much of your barrel is not a barrel. That is a silencer. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't some bullshit silencer that you'll get on any other gun. This silencer has foam on the inside, and it makes this rifle super quiet. But this is the rifle without the silencer on. Look how short this thing is. It's teeny. Look how far the barrel is in front of the stock. I mean, that's nothing. So really, for what I'm getting out of it, the accuracy is actually really good, and the range for such a short barrel, because I mean, you got to think, the barrel is only from here to here. That's a 310 millimeter barrel. That's nothing. So the range is actually incredible. But what we're going to try to do today is we're going to try to make it even better. I've bought some Maple Leaf parts. I have a Maple Leaf hop-up arm to replace the hop-up arm. We've got a Maple Leaf Autobot Bucking in 60 degrees. So we're going to put that in here, and that's supposed to increase your range and accuracy. I don't know, I might put the Decepticon in here. We'll see. I'm also going to throw some Teflon around it to seal up any sort of leaks we might be having. I'm not sure if we have any, but let's do it just to be sure. And I'm going to try to put the Maple Leaf eye key in here and see what happens with that. It worked in my Tokyo Marui Mark 23 SOCOM, and it made that thing shoots like a dream now. That, I mean, I'm getting AEG ranges out of a gas pistol. It's freaking crazy. So I'm gonna see if I can't put one of those in here, and just completely eliminate the need for even adding any hop up. I mean, that's gonna add hop up just putting that in there. So we'll see where this goes, and thanks for tuning in. We're gonna start off this with disassembling this rifle. So let's see. First we'll have to take the scope off, and I'll show you these parts piece by piece as we go. Well, start off with this. So this, I'll show you a little bit closer, but on JG Bar you can install this system into the stock, but the Tokyo Marui is, the stock space is smaller, so you would actually have to take the regulator indicator dial off to make it fit in the stock, and I don't like the idea of that. I like to be able to look and see what my pressure is. Okay, so if you want to look at this, ooh, get enough glare on it. There, that's your gauge. This is your tournament lock. So see, I've still got access to that. And you pull the tournament lock down. And there's your adjustment screw right here. So as you adjust that, you'll see the gauge go up or down. This is where you adjust it for the size of the CO2. That's a cool emblem, isn't it? Well, it'd help if you could see it, huh? There you go. Well, let me turn it around right. Yeah, that's pretty badass. But you just open it up, pop your CO2 out, pop your new CO2 in, take and you click it once, and that's your rest position, and then when you click it there, it breaks the seal and it charges the system. So we've got that off, so we'll set that to the side. And that's the Wolverine Wraith. This is a tourniquet pouch I made for it. That's nice, isn't it? Check out that camo. So we'll set that to the side. Okay, let's finish getting the scope off of here. Okay, so the scope's off. So look at this paint job. It's pretty slick, isn't it? I call it the dragon snake scale, because you have your large pieces. They're almost like a dragon. Then you have your snake scale all over it with your rips. I thought it came out really well. And these are hand painted logos, by the way. Those are not stencils, those are actually painted. Okay, let's get this baby apart. Just love the dog making weird ass noises when you're trying to film a video. I know I do. Oh yeah, we're going to edit this out, searching for the right damn Allen wrench. This is a 2.5 metric Allen wrench. I've been told you want to make sure that these bolts, particularly this bolt, isn't too tight, because if it is, you'll get misfeeds. Check out my Wolverine logo. So I've sent stills of this rifle to the guys at Wolverine. They were really impressed with it. I hope I get to see them at Folda Gap in October. You need to remember, the long screw is the one for the back. The short screw is for the front. Of course, I guess if you tried to put them in, you'd figure that out pretty damn quick. Okay, so now we have to be careful. I'm going to take the buttstock off. And we have to be super careful because this is where our battery connection is. And we don't want to rip that up. So we have to be careful when we pull this out. And we have our air line coming out the bottom. So both of these we have to be pretty careful with. So we'll start by lifting it from the front. That comes right out of there. Okay, so we got the stock off. If you look at it, now you can actually see parts of the bolt. Here is the micro switch. You completely disassemble the trigger. The only thing that's left stock of the trigger is the actual trigger and the spring mechanism. But right here is your micro switch you replace, and you put this micro switch in. It makes your trigger pull next to nothing. And you have to drill out the bottom of this receiver to get this to go in. Okay. Good God. Alright, so when you replace the stock cylinder and nozzle, this is the Wolverine Bolt Cylinder and nozzle. Thing looks slick, doesn't it? So see, there's absolutely no spring to it whatsoever. And it's got a super short throw. So it just moves just enough to cycle another BB. So we'll set this to the side. So whenever you're modding a sniper and you pull it apart, it doesn't matter what you pull it apart for the first time, even if you're just wanting to check it out. What I recommend you do is be very careful, and you can get an Allen wrench and put your Allen wrench in one of these holes at the end of your nozzle, and then you can see, lefty loosey, righty tighty, you can unscrew your nozzle from the top. Now on a spring gun you have to be careful because the spring is holding a piston inside of here, and it'll make it pop right out. Now this is different, so you know it's a lot easier. But you unscrew this out, and if you can see in here, There we go. See how the threads are wrapped in Teflon tape? You take and wrap that in Teflon, and that'll help alleviate some of your compression problems you might have. Okay, now that we looked at that, let's get this out of the way. Not going to need that anymore. Okay, this is your hop-up unit. I don't know what this part is called, so we're just going to call it, let's call it the magazine receiver block, because that's what this piece right here does. It receives the magazine, lets the BBs feed up through it. So we're going to very carefully take that off. And we're not even going to take the screws the whole way out of it. That way we don't have to worry about what screw goes where, who screwed who, any of that nonsense. Okay, so we have that off. So set that aside, being very careful not to let the screws fall out. Alright, now if you look right here, this light is super bright, isn't it? Oh no, camera's moving. Okay. If you look right here, that's the hop-up arm. That's what you adjust on the side of the barrel. Listen to it. So that's what adjusts your hop. So what we want to do is take that off and be very, very careful not to lose that screw. It's super tiny. So take and set that to the side. Alright, now we're ready to push the barrel out. I do have barrel spacers installed in mine, so this barrel is a lot harder to push out than what your stock barrel is going to be. There we go. And maybe if we're lucky, our barrel, yeah, there we go. Our barrel spacer stayed in place. That's good news, because those things are a pain in the butt to put in there. Okay, so here's your hop-up. This is the bottom of the hop-up that we were looking at. This is where the BBs feed in. That's your bucking. Now I've actually already replaced this bucking one time, and this is the Maple Leaf that you can see in there. Whenever you buy a Maple Leaf and you go to replace the bucking, make sure you don't lose that small metal band. I lost one, and that's kind of a useless bucking now, so that's $10 wasted because I can't find that little metal piece, which really sucks. Okay, so let's start taking this thing apart. Here are the parts we're wanting to get a hold of. So that is the stock Tokyo Marui VSR-10 hop-up arm. So I've actually already replaced that. This is the stock Tokyo Marui bucking, or hop-up rubber. It has just a little nub on the inside. This is the Autobot 60. No, this is the Decepticon 60 degree. That's good to know. Okay, I'm going to see if I can show you inside of this thing. Let's see here. So there's the bottom. Look at that nub on the inside of there. It's pretty neat, huh? And this, God, I hope I don't drop it. this little tiny, come on, focus, this tiny little eye key. That tiny little key is what we're going to be putting inside of this. Put that in there, make sure we don't lose it. Okay. I really hope I can turn down this light in post-production. Okay, the first step to taking apart this hop-up unit is we want to take this slide section. We want to take this apart. Okay, so we'll start with this screw. Then we'll get both of these. And this part here just lifts right out. And this is the top part, and that's the little, this is the little armature. That's the little armature that goes inside your hop-up arm and adjusts it up and down. So be very careful with that as to not lose the tiny screws in there. Alright. So now we take the two-piece hop-up apart, making sure we have everything undone. Yeah. Ooh, I have to get a smaller screwdriver. Okay, this is Teflon tape. For those of you that don't know, it's really very super thin, flimsy. Use it to wrap around pipe threads to make a better seal. It's cheap. Get a roll. It'll solve a lot of your airsoft problems. It'll make your dick bigger too. Okay, you're going to need a tiny bit for this. I think it's a number 1 Phillips. And take the front and rear screws out of the hop-up. And then you set this to the side. You have to be very careful. This spring will pop out. Do not lose it. Pull your barrel out. Pop that spring back in. Make sure you keep, or just take it out completely and set that slide to the side. Okay, now if you want to replace your hop-up arm, it's simple enough. Just open it up, This one's a lot tighter than the stock. You just pull it off, slide the new one on. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This comes out, that's the other half of your hop-up slide. It goes back in, you just set it here. Number one thing you ever need to do with any airsoft gun you own, clean the freaking barrel. This is Tokyo Marui. It's supposed to be, you know, top of the line, super precision shit. I get it. I had to run 5 patches through this thing before I got a patch that came out clean. And that's the least of any gun I've ever owned. They leave the cut and oil on the inside. I'm not sure if, you know, some little Japanese prick puts it up to his butthole and just farts through it, or how they're supposed to clean it out, but they don't do a decent job at all. So you need to make sure you clean it. And if you don't clean it every game, at least swab it every other game. Now you can use just regular alcohol with this, but you need to use your cleaning rod and push it in and find out where it ends, because you don't want to get alcohol on this hop-up rubber. It'll dry the rubber out. It's perfectly fine for you to go just to here and clean it out to there. And take your cleaning rod that's going to be dedicated for this rifle and put a mark on it, so you'll know exactly how deep it goes before you get to the bottom. And for God's sake, clean your barrels. These are supposed to be precision things. You have a sniper rifle, for God's sake. Okay, so now I digress. Now back to this. Whenever I change this, I'll go ahead and take it off and show it to you. If I can get it off of here. Let me find the wrap so I can show you how to wrap it. Let's see. Let's take, the Teflon comes off really easy. Just peel it off with your fingernails. Oh, don't lose that. Okay. Now, if you're going to replace your stock Tokyo Marui with one of these Autobot Buckings, I'm not sure about JGs, but since they are clones, I assume it'll be the same. When you get this and take it out, this barrel, right here, there's a saddle that goes across the top. I took a Dremel tool and cut that saddle out, because otherwise this bucking will not work on this. So just take and cut that really carefully. Just cut that little saddle off, and then just use a nice jeweler's file or a small leaf file. You just file that down even. Okay, so let's see which bucking that is. Yep, that's the Decepticon bucking. Okay, so when you put this in, on the underside where you have your cutout, on the underside there's a long groove. You look on the inside of your bucking, look on the inside of your bucking, there's a long bar. Guess what you do with that? You shove it up your ass. No, you hook it up with the long groove. And when you do that, that'll put your hop-up nub on the inside of it, right over top of your window. So you just push until it stops. Don't force it any farther than what it goes. That's as far as it goes. And it just goes and it stops. Focus. Focus. Okay. Alright, now you take your Teflon tape, get you a nice flat section, tear off any of the bullshit that's already on the end of it. Get you a nice flat section. what you want to do, let's go half and half. Keep it off the front of your nub. Just do a couple nice tight wraps around that. And just pull it off. And it'll stay it'll stay itself. Okay. Now if you're using the Maple Leaf Bucking, here's the easiest way I found to do this, and it's not particularly that easy. Take and squeeze. And then fight this thing on here. It's a real bitch. Usually I have to do it 2 or 3 times to get it on there. Alright, you son of a bitch. Ah, there we go. So now if you look, we have the silver thing on there. That just gives you additional stability on the hop up on the rubber lips that hold the BB. Okay, so now we're ready to reinstall. Okay, so when you reinstall this, we want to go ahead and get the top side, and where the nub is, got that small nub, goes in this little tiny keyway hole right there. So go ahead and match that up. Smooth up in you, just like that. Okay. Reinstall your slide. Go ahead and open your arm all the way up. Okay, now comes the fun part. We have this piece, this pain in the ass piece with the spring on it. Okay. This is not going to want to stay in there. That's just the way things are. So you just have to be really careful when you put it together and get it mated up, and then push the spring in there by hand. So if we get that in there, then we can take let's make sure we got that note. This might take a few tries, but as with anything with Airsoft teching, you have to be very, very patient, because this shit does not come easy. As you can see, it can be very, very aggravating. Let's see if it works on the other side better. Nope. sure we got our spring in there right. Yep. Okay, so now that we have that in there, now we'll go through and tighten the fore and aft screws. And I don't really recommend going much tighter than a really good finger tight, and then maybe an eighth of a turn. Well, it depends on whether or not you have a gorilla grip. If you have gorilla grip, maybe just what you do with your fingers is good enough. Okay, so we're going to pop this. Let's get a tiny Allen key. Pop our arm up. There we go. Let's go ahead and tighten this down. And these screws strip out pretty easy, so be careful. So it should be nice and tight. Okay, so before we put the other arm, the other side of the tensioner system on, let's go ahead and drop this eye key in. Now this is truly a pain in the ass, because you have to get it just right. So we'll take and drop that down in there. And of course it's upside down because that's just the way things go. So we have to flip it over so the concave side is at the bottom. And you want to try to get it dead center. Okay. So without much drama, we managed to get that in there. Alright, then you put your top arm assembly back in there. To make it easier, you can go ahead and turn the hop all the way down. It'll make it much easier since you have that eye key in there. Tighten both these back up, being very careful because this is straight through plastic and you don't want to strip that. And then put your last tiny screw in here. So it's magnetic, so that'll be good. Now with this setup, you are most definitely going to be wanting to run heavy BBs, because with light BBs you're going to shoot them to the moon. Okay, so we have that put together. So now reassembly. Okay. So you won't be able to see the barrel spacers, so there's no sense in showing them to you. really what it is, it looks like a thread bobbin, and it has 2 O-rings on the outside, 2 O-rings on the inside, and they're about this long. I've got one here and one here. This stabilizes your barrel, helps with accuracy. So we'll put this back in. And when it comes factory, this is all you have. So this whole section here is just floating. At the very end of it comes out in that hole you see down there, and it just barely touches it on the sides. I'll show you when I get it back installed. So there's a lot of flex in the stock barrel. Okay, we've made it to the first one. And you want to be very careful with this, because you don't, I mean, you're careful about putting your spacers in the position that you want them. So you have to be careful every time you put the barrel in and out so you don't move that position. Okay, now we've got to the second one. Okay, now you want to match these screw holes back up. Alright, so that one's matched. You see your beautiful bucking in there. Get close up. Turn this stupid light off. So those last shots were from 90 yards. I would say that is a definite improvement. I would also say that the eye key is probably wasted on this gun. This has been Relic's Mods, and I'd like to remind you, always wear your eye protection when you have a loaded airsoft weapon. Also, carry a dead rag and use it. Nobody's too cool for a dead rag. And call your fucking hits, especially for a sniper, or he might shoot you in the ding ding. Also, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And make sure you check out this video because it's really cool too. Alright, see you next time.